Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We are looking at the prophetic fountain from which 1 Corinthians 15 flows. Paul said the resurrection would be when Isaiah 25 and verse 8 would be fulfilled. Now, I want you to remember that chapter 24 of Isaiah lays that groundwork of demonstrating that this discussion of resurrection in Isaiah 25 has to do with Israel and Israel's promises. Let me reiterate how important this is. We have people running around today saying that, well, yeah, you know, God's promise of the resurrection, it was to Old Covenant Israel, but God canceled that covenant and then took those promises and gave them to the church. There could not be a more horrible, false doctrine. Paul in Romans chapter 11 dealt with God's promises to Israel. It included resurrection, Romans 11:15. And it was talking about Israel after the flesh. And even though they were at that time enemies of God, from the perspective of the gospel, they were beloved for the Father's sake. And Paul said those promises, what promises? Resurrection promises, were irrevocable. And yet we have people running around today saying, oh, well, you know, God canceled the covenant with Israel after the flesh, but He gave those promises now to the church. There could not be a more false doctrine. It has no merit whatsoever. But you see, that's what amillennialism has to do. That's what postmillennialism has to do. They have to say God set Israel aside without ever fulfilling those Old Covenant resurrection promises. And yet here in 1 Corinthians 15, Paul is expecting and predicting the fulfillment of those Old Testament promises made to Old Covenant Israel. Now, I made the point that this resurrection would be at the time of the destruction of the city of confusion. It would be at the time of the judgment of the rebellious people who violated the everlasting covenant. It would also be the time of the entrance into the kingdom. Now watch this. O Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have done wonderful things. Your counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. What a God we serve, okay? Anyway, for you have made a city a ruin, a fortified city a ruin, a palace of foreigners to be a city no more. It will never be rebuilt. Therefore, the strong people will glorify you. The city of the terrible nations will fear you. For you have been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shade from the heat. For the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall. You will reduce the noise of aliens as heat in a dry place, as heat in the shadow of a cloud. The song of the terrible ones will be diminished. And in this mountain the Lord of hosts will make for all people a feast of choice pieces, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of well-refined wines on the lees, and He will destroy on this mountain the surface of the covering cast over all the people, and the veil that is spread over all the nations. He will swallow up death forever. That's 1 Corinthians 15. Now, catch the power of this. This messianic banquet of verse 6, this resurrection of verse 8, when would it be once again? When the Lord had made the fortified city a waste. Now there are some translational issues with part of this, but the gist of it seems to be, according to the commentators I've been able to consult, you have turned the temple over to foreigners. So we have here, once again, the prediction of the destruction of the fortified city when the temple would be turned over to foreigners. Now this agrees perfectly with Isaiah chapter 27, 10 and following. We'll get to that later. But for the moment, what I want you to see is that right here, in the immediate context in the immediate context of the prediction of the resurrection is the prediction of the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. How do we miss this? Well, I tell you how we miss it. We do like some former preterists are doing and say, I don't care about time statements anymore. I'm not interested in hearing or reading what the Bible has to say about when things would be done. I'm only interested in about my concept of the nature of things and about what the creeds have to say about that. Well, isn't what the Bible has to say of a little more importance, power, and authority than any creed, than any church history? It's so distressing when people want to exalt church history and church creeds above the inspired Word of God. But I hope you see the bottom line here, folks. Right here in the text that Paul quotes from, for his resurrection doctrine, right here in that context is the undeniable reality that this would happen at the time of the destruction of the city and the temple of Jerusalem. Don't you think it's time we accept that? I hope you're seeing the importance of honoring the prophetic context of Paul's resurrection doctrine. Where do we get the right to alter, to radically transform what that source says about the resurrection and turn it into something that's not even in the context?